And I could tell story after story of just greater glimpses of who he is. I think the more we walk with him, the more we journey with him, the more we see of him, the deeper we go. We could just keep going as deep as we can go and as high as we can go, and we'll never reach the end of who he is.
Welcome to Rewrite, where we explore the stories that shape our faith. I'm Jonathan Unthank, and today we've got Kristian Stanfill and Chidima from Passion Music with us. They're here to chat about the big impacts of God's presence and staying faithful in our daily lives. So grab your headphones, tune in, and let's dive into this faith journey together. Rewrite.
New life, new beginning.
Passion joins me
Yeah.
today. Oh man,
hey.
how
Good to
cool!
be here, man.
How cool is this? You guys have been a part of so many people's lives. You think about it in those that are in the church and worship movement, and based out of Atlanta. Kristian, you've been in Atlanta for how many years
Born
now?
and raised, man. I'm 41, and I still live there. So
So it's home.
it's home. It's home.
It is home. So you guys have been such an encouragement to not just those who lead worship, but those who just want to have a deeper relationship with the Lord. You draw us closer to the Father's heart, to God's heart, and I know that's a calling that you've had. But we're going to spend some time just over the next couple of minutes hearing your individual stories, and if you want to introduce yourself to those that may not be familiar with who you are individually and who Passion is, feel free to do that. But how did you come to know Jesus? How did it start?
I love this. I don't think I've ever been on a podcast before. That's the criteria. I think it's beautiful, man. I love that.
So cool, yeah.
It is so powerful to share our testimonies, like just to talk about it. So for me, I grew up in a family that we were always in church. I was aware of Jesus, aware of God and His Word from a really young age, And I remember praying with my mom when I was like 6 or 7 years old. As much as you can understand as a 6-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I want Jesus to wash my sin away,
Right.
and I want to be with Him forever.
Right.
I think that's what I understood, which is a really beautiful, thing as a little kid. So I remember kneeling with my mom one night when I was young. And then, like, the next 4 nights, I went and did the same thing. 'Cause
Wow.
I just wanted to make sure it
Yeah,
took.
yeah.
It was like,
We all have that.
yeah,
story,
you're like, I don't know if last night worked, but let's make sure we do this again. And so I would say that was sort of like that first moment. And then, as it is with everybody, as you live more life and journey with Jesus, it's like varying degrees of revelation and understanding and seeing, just getting a greater glimpse of who He is. And I remember being about 13 years old, and I was at a youth conference during the summer, and I was just a knucklehead, man. I was like a middle school kid, just there to talk to girls and eat candy, And but I would say about halfway through the week, something really surprising started to happen, and I started to clue in that, man, something is happening in my heart. Something's happening in this room. And the last night of camp, I had this encounter with the Holy Spirit that absolutely leveled me.
Wow.
And he opened my eyes to see Jesus in a way I'd never seen Jesus before. I knew then, I probably wouldn't have said it this way, but I know to say it this way now. I knew I needed a Savior. I knew that the cross was my only hope, that Jesus was my only hope. And I just knew my life was not my own. And I went home from that camp, and everything changed for me. Like I said, I was kind of like a knucklehead punk middle school kid. Came home, and my parents were like, what happened to our son? Like, who are you, and what have you done with Kristian? And there really was this like Saul to Paul type conversion where my parents were like, something has changed in you.
Wow.
And picked up a guitar pretty soon after that, and this love for Jesus and then love for music kind of collided all in that moment. And then even as recent as the end of 2023, from about July to the end of 2023, God just blew my mind yet again. I mean, and I could tell story after story of just greater glimpses of who he is. And I think the more we walk with him, the more we journey with him, the more we see of him, the deeper we go. We can never go deep enough. We could just keep going as deep as we can go and as high as we can go, and we'll never reach the end of who he is. And what an amazing adventure
it is.
To be.
You're
it
right.
really is. Like
You're
you
right.
wake up every day and go, I want to see more of you today. What are you going to show me today?
Yes.
And so it's been a really beautiful ride, and just grace at every turn. Grace at every turn, man. I don't deserve to be here. It's all mercy, and I'm so thankful.
Isn't that awesome?
And it's so awesome. So and now to be part of, writing songs and leading things like Passion, and watching that moment happen for college students and people in our church is like, it's wild.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's amazing. How did you come to know Jesus?
My name is Chidima, and much like Kristian, I grew up in the church too. It really feels like a gift to not remember a time that I didn't know Jesus. Like, I really have been walking with him my whole life, but very similarly, I remember being just so captivated by the story of the gospel, as much as my 4-year-old, 5-year-old mind can understand it, but just the fact that like Jesus would die for me. And so at a very young age, I was amazed by God and wanted to live for God. And so had that moment too where I said yes to Jesus, but like every couple of weeks it was like, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure. I love him, but just in case he forgot, I need to reprofess my faith. And so walking through like elementary school, middle school, had a lot of hard things happen in my life. Like my parents got a divorce when I was in middle school, and my faith really came to a head at that point because I had really had my parents' faith at that point. I mean, I attribute them to be the reason why I know Jesus. Both of my parents, specifically my mom. My mom is a praying woman who made us see Jesus, and she lived her whole life to make sure that we knew him and would follow him. And so faith came to a head, and I was like, well, I love Jesus, but why is life hard, and why is this happening? And so had to really wrestle with grief and wrestle with things like that. But at the end of every day, I remember I would go to bed so sad, and I would just feel the arms of God around. Like I could tangibly feel him holding me. And I knew then, I was like, God is real. No one could ever convince me otherwise. And so it wasn't until maybe later in high school, as I was entering into college, as I was getting older, faith was always a thing, but I was also interested in like doing what my friends were doing and, following them and being a knucklehead too. But I remember there was one moment where some things had kind of come to a head, and I was like, God, I promise that from this day on, I will follow you for the rest of my life. Every gift I have is yours. Every talent I have is yours. Every resource, anything and everything that I have is yours. And that would have been maybe my sophomore year of college. And I truly never looked back at that point. And so very similarly to Kristian, like I've always loved music, grew up around music. And around that time too is when I was like, okay, every gift I have is for the Lord. So I'm going to use my gift of singing and writing or whatever it may be for him. And so it's been really amazing since then, just to shorten it, just to see what God has done with my yes. And, I'm still learning and still growing, as we all are. We're being transformed from glory to glory. But it has been such an amazing journey, just a wild ride. But I would not have it any other way.
I love that. I love that. I've asked those that have been a part of this podcast over the last several episodes, knowing Jesus today. If you took one word for today in your relationship with him, how would you describe him? For example, sustainer, provider, friend, whatever. What would you say?
I would say present.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's giving me the gift of understanding how present he is in everything.
Yep.
and at every turn, every day, you know, regardless of what I'm doing, he's helping me see again that he's present, he's close, and he's at work.
Yeah.
He's at work. I read recently somebody said that Christ is inescapable, and I like highlighted that 100 times. I'm like, that's how I feel right now. It's like at every turn, like I see you at work, and I want to be a part of it. So present.
That's awesome. That's
so
awesome.
good. There's so many that I'm thinking of to pick one.
Yeah.
I would say right now in this season of life for me, I would say faithful.
Yeah.
Like just through all the ebbs and flows of life and the ever-changing nature of this world and how crazy it is, like he never changes. He stays the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yeah.
And that is our hope. That is what we anchor ourselves on. And that is so grounding to know that he is steady. So while everything is moving, like we don't have to be shaken either.
This is Rewrite, Stories of New Life in Jesus. I'm Jonathan Unthank. If you'd like to join a community of listeners who enjoy hearing the life stories of Christian music artists and influencers, then join the Rewrite text group by texting the word Rewrite, that's REWRITE, to 81891. But more importantly, if you'd like to dig deeper into your own relationship with Jesus, you can begin that journey today by texting his name, Jesus, to 81891. God bless you. Join me next time for another episode of Rewrite.